I'm joined by Alison Sargent for a look through today's papers. Hi, Alison.
Hi, Olivia.
Now, we're looking at Tunisia, where papers are struggling to understand the recent clashes taking place between protesters and security forces there.
That's right, Olivia. These protests started about 5 days ago as Tunisia was marking 10 years since the country's revolution. Papers, though, are really trying to make sense of where these protests are coming from. The paper Essahafa writes that the nightly protests have been taking place seemingly without any leaders and without any specific slogans. The paper asks, does Tunisia really need another wave of vandalism? Now, another paper, Asaba, is asking what's behind this discontent, and the paper gives somewhat of an answer in its editorial. They talk about a lost generation. They write that Tunisians are more and more frustrated by the situation in the country, and the paper blames the country's politicians.
Yeah, and they're not the only ones angry with the political system. There's another paper blaming the Tunisian government as well.
That's right, Olivia. This is the website Tunisie Numérique. They are asking, when will our presidents understand that Tunisia's interests are the priority? The site is shocked by some of the looting that's been going on, but they're even more shocked by what items people have been taken. They write milk, pasta, chicken. These looters seem to just be starving. Now, the site writes that the fact that many Tunisians are struggling to feed themselves is cause for shame, and the site blames the government for ignoring what's going on in the country in favor of their own internal power struggles. These protests are getting some attention also in neighboring Algeria. The Algerian cartoonist Hik wonders if Tunisia's president, Kais Saied, could meet the same fate as his predecessors. In this cartoon, which is titled Unrest in Tunisia on the 10-year anniversary of the fall of Ben Ali, we see a domino effect. Ben Ali tumbling in 2011, Monsef Marzouki, who became Tunisia's president, falling down after him, and then current president Kais Saied trying to get out of the way.
That's certainly a very clear and visible way of putting it how they see it. Now we're moving over to Ethiopia now, where there's growing concern about the situation in the Tigray region.
Right, that's the region in the north of the country that has been at war with Ethiopia's central government. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed announced the end of the conflict in December, but the Courrier International warns that the violence there is ongoing. They cite the work of Bloomberg News, which analyzed satellite images like the one that you see here. They found that they show systematic attacks against 2 refugee camps. The attacks targeted the stockhouse of the World Food Program and then also a school. Courrier International also notes that EU officials have received information about ongoing ethnic violence in the region, mass pillages, rape, and other war crimes. So for the publication, the situation in Tigray remains extremely worrying, despite Abiy Ahmed's saying, that things would now be able to return to normal.
And of course, a region where it has been very, very difficult to do any journalism. Now, we're coming back to France for this next story. The country's seeing a second Me Too movement, but this time it's specifically victims of incest who are speaking out.
Yes, hundreds of people have been sharing their stories under the hashtag #MeTooIncest. As the New York Times explains, this was really prompted by accusations recently against a prominent French political scientist, Olivier Duhamel. Duhamel's stepdaughter, Camille Kouchner, published a book accusing him of sexually abusing her twin brother, starting when he was just 14. This news really sent a bomb through French society because the Duhamel and Kouchner families are really powerful and well known. The statistics in France also around incest are shocking. You can see this is a problem that so many people relate to. The New York Times cites an Ipsos poll released in November that found that 1 in 10 people in France said they'd been victims of incest, so 10% of people, a huge amount. The vice president of a victim advocacy group said that incest is the most widespread form of sexual violence, and it's the one that's the least talked about.
That book published by Camille Kouchner has certainly prompted some soul-searching here in France. Now, staying in France, many papers are marking Donald Trump's last full day in office.
That's right. We can start by looking at Le Parisien, Aujourd'hui en France, their front page headline here. It's time to go. The paper notes that Donald Trump's departure is going to be unlike any other in modern history because the president will be skipping his successor's inauguration to head off to his resort in Florida. Now, another presidential handover tradition that people are wondering if Donald Trump is going to do it or not would be leaving a handwritten letter for Joe Biden in the Oval Office. No word yet on whether he will or not lot, but cartoonist Pat Bagley of the Salt Lake Tribune has imagined what that note might say. You can read it there. It says, "So long, suckers."
Not mincing his words there. Now, one presidential tradition that is making a comeback with Joe Biden is having a presidential pet, a first dog.
A first dog, that's right. Donald Trump was one of the first presidents in years that did not have a dog. Joe Biden has two. He has two German Shepherds named Champ and Major. As we read in USA Today, Joe Biden's dog Major was honored specifically Sunday in an inauguration ceremony, complete with a performance by singer Josh Groban. The event seemed to be quite an affair. It was held online to raise money for a no-kill animal shelter. Major is getting more of the attention because he was adopted from a shelter, which means he's going to be the first ever rescue dog to be living in the White House, a real rags to riches American story. And as our producer pointed out to me, Joe Biden also plans on getting a cat, symbolism as his plan to reunite America, dogs and cats together under one roof.
Very wise move, uniting both camps there. Thank you very much for that press review, Alison.